Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be continuing What If Lori never died in The Walking Dead, and let's get into it. So we start off by seeing a car, and there's 4 people in that car. Those being Morgan and Rick, and also Lori, and also Carl. And they're all heading back to Woodbury. And when they reach Woodbury, they'd see an argument going on there, and the argument there is between Merle and also T-Dog are both arguing, and Daryl tries breaking up their fight, but unfortunately would fail, and Milton and Martinez would be backing Merle up. They'd be on his side, basically. And Daryl would shoot in the air like 3 times, and he'd break up the fight between Merle and T-Dog. And Daryl would tell both of them to stop fighting like kids, because he's getting real annoyed of their fighting. And obviously Daryl's annoyed because Daryl, he doesn't talk much. He's just always annoyed by someone. And also, it doesn't really matter if he's annoyed at anyone, because Daryl is the best character in the entire show, in my opinion. Also, Bob and Sasha would get into a relationship by now. Okay, so you guys remember a couple episodes ago how the governor and his other people went out and they found these military people and they killed them and they stole from them. And one thing that happened specifically, Merle and Daryl killed Garchulio, Tim, and Crowley. Well, they didn't kill them, they just shot them, because they never actually went to confirm that they died. They just passed out. And now Garchulio and Crowley and also Tim are all traveling together so they could get back to Woodbury and see if the governor won the fight. And we see Axel taking care of baby Judith, and he isn't alone just taking care of baby Judith. Carl is with him because, of course, Carl's the brother of baby Judith. And Axel would tell Carl that someone's at the gates, and he's just gonna go check out who it is. And Axel would tell Carl to stay with Judith. And when Axel checks the gates, he sees a group of 6 people, the leader being a man called Abraham. And he'd ask Axel if he's the leader around here. Axel would obviously say no. Abraham would introduce his group, but first off, he's obviously going to introduce himself, and he's obvious, because Abraham, when him and Eugene and Rosita showed up to Glen, they couldn't really introduce themselves, but now they have time, so they can. Abraham would say that the group are his friend Eugene and his friend Rosita, and he'd say that they just found Tim, Crowley, and Garchulio a couple days back. They just found them a couple days back. Now they're a part of their group. And Tim, Crowley, and Garchulio would recognize Axel and they'd raise up their guns. But Merle, Daryl, and also Rick would all show up and they'd aim their guns at them 3, and Abraham, Rosita, and Eugene, they just be like, what the hell is going on? Because they don't know the history between them. We'd see Tyrese, and he's in the back, and he would start sneaking up. And he would just, sneak up, and he would get Tim in a chokehold. So now this would force Crowley and also Garchulio to give up, because you know how they're not just gonna let Tim die. So now they're just gonna be the prisoners of the group. Rick would tell Glenn to take them to prison, and he'll have a talk with Rosita, Eugene, and Abraham, and Glenn would take Crowley, Tim, and Gartulio to prison, while Rick would talk to Abraham, Rosita, and Eugene. Abraham would tell Rick that Eugene knows the cure, and he's a pretty smart guy. He knows how to deal with stuff, and if they want to help them find the cure, and Eugene can find the cure, and if they help them, Eugene can probably help them around here as well. And also, Eugene can help upgrade and help with the ammunition. And Rosita would add to this and say that Eugene is a smart guy, so they could trust him. And we all know how that turned out. He was lying, so yeah, but anyways, Rosita would add that she's seen Eugene do things, and Eugene would say he is a genius and he could make the cure anytime. And Rick would say, yeah, sure. And he'd just say that if you're lying, we'll just leave you afterwards. If Rick would say, if they're lying, they'll just leave them and peacefully because they don't want any trouble. Abraham would just look at Rick and then smile, and he'd say, you're underestimating the wrong people, because Abraham's obviously thinking big of Eugene right now, but he doesn't know what's gonna happen. So yeah. Anyways, Rick has a moment, like a long moment of thinking before agreeing to help Abraham and the others, but this is where we're going to be leaving things off for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and the reason why this video took so long to come is because of school, and I was a bit sick, so yeah, and this video was just so we could introduce Abraham and Eugene and Rosita, so we could get really into the story. So, bye-bye.